Open space is among one of the greatest assets in the town of Dartmouth. This includes recreational areas such as our beaches, parks, and numerous golf courses, which represent about 600 acres of this open space. The Country Club of New Bedford, Hawthorne Country Club, Allendale Country Club, Nonquit Golf Links, Round Hill Golf Links, Salters Point Golf Links, City View Golf, and the Caddy Shack are included in the golf courses in the town. Over the years, two of the most popular golf courses that were open to the public but have been lost to development were the Pascomancer Golf Links and Emerald Park Par 3. Both of these courses produced a great number of outstanding golfers and added a great deal to the history of golf in this area. Since the beginning of the century, the Country Club of New Bedford has had a great tradition, which has led to its current prestigious reputation in the New England area. The club has a modest beginning, which took place before the turn of the century. The original club was located in the west end of New Bedford, bordering on Hawthorne, Brigham, and Allen Streets, continuing out to Rockdale Avenue. Several enthusiasts of golf formed the club. It was called the Hawthorne Club. The 6-hole layout became so popular that the club founders decided the course was too short and crowded. They closed the course and moved to the present site. In 1923, the clubhouse burned to the ground. The present clubhouse was built over the original foundation in 1924 with several additions, alterations, and other improvements over the years. In 1924, the legendary Mike O'Grady began his 46-year career with the club. Mike was meticulous and enjoyed an excellent reputation for having the finest greens in southeastern Massachusetts. John Gilholm Sr. worked alongside Mike as a club professional from 1919 to 1958. The two became legendary figures for their dedication to the game of golf and their loyalty to the club. The original course was 9 holes until the club purchased land on the east side of Slocum Road and added an additional 6 holes. These outer 6 holes were designed by O'Grady, Mitchell, and Gilholm. Willie Park, probably the most famous golf architect at the turn of the century, had planned, designed, and supervised the building of the original 9 holes. In 1924, the renowned golf architect Donald Ross redesigned the course, changing the original 9 holes on the club side of Slocum Road into 12 holes and eventually making the Country Club of New Bedford into an 18-hole golf course. The first August 4-ball invitational tournament was held the first week of August in 1931. The August 4-ball remains one of the most prestigious amateur golf tournaments in New England. The club is rich in tradition and has produced several outstanding players. In 1937, Dave Whiteside gained prominence by winning the Massachusetts State Amateur Tournament. Kevin Neary, who shot 5 under 65, holds the course record. Throughout the years, the course has welcomed dignitaries from the world of government, theater, athletics, and golf. The members and officers of the Country Club of New Bedford throughout the years have consistently maintained a tradition of hospitality, fellowship, and fair play. This is their legacy to future generations.
I've been a golf professional for 37 years now. I got into the business caddying. I started caddying and picked up the game. I've been playing ever since.
You're from the old school where you go out and caddy first and then you kind of learn how to play.
That's right.
And then you stay with what you like.
Sure.
Actually, it's basically what I did. I caddied here at the country club, 60 years ago when I was a young kid. And I've been playing golf ever since.
This is our centennial year this year, and we made some major improvements to the golf course to kind of celebrate the centennial. We have a pretty nice junior program.
Well, tell us a little about it.
Yeah, we run it 3 weeks, Charlie. We start them the first week, it's in July, the first week we just do instruction, and we take them right from putting and chipping right up to the driver on the last day. And we have contests in each category, so they have a chance to win a little trophy. The second week we take them out on the golf course and we teach them golf rules and etiquette, how they should be conducting themselves on the golf course, and just what the rules are. And the third week we run little tournaments for them. We have some of them, the smaller kids might play 3-hole tournaments, and the older kids will play 6 or 9-hole tournaments. So they have a good time. Then we finish it up at the end of the 3 weeks. We have a cookout and an awards luncheon that the folks are invited to. And this is sponsored by Titleist. Wally Uline takes care of all the expenses, so we don't charge anybody that wants to participate in the program. It's mostly for members' children or grandchildren of members.
Dick, I know that the country club has done a lot of improvements in the last couple of years. Can you elaborate on what you did maybe 2 years ago when they repaired? I understand they did the traps, and then can you tell us what they did last year?
Well, Charlie, 2 years ago they started with some redesign work. They redesigned all the bunkers to go back to the old Donald Ross style bunker, and which are a little steeper in the banks and flatter on the bottom of the bunker with little sand, not a whole lot of sand in it. We took down 125 trees just to open up the tees and the greens. A lot of the trees started to encroach over the greens and the tees, and it stopped circulation and sunlight. So they cut down a lot of trees. It really didn't change the playability of the golf course. It's still as difficult as ever. And this year we rebuilt all the tees. We made some of the tees bigger now that we were able to open them up, and more level, and we made them bent grass tees. We also rebuilt the 16th green, which was getting to be kind of unfair. The steepness and the slope. There were only a few places on the green where you could actually put a fair pin placement. So Ron Pritchard came in and redesigned the green so that it still has the same character to it. It's still
tough.
Still tough. There's still the same type of slope. You just can't see it from the fairway. They kind of raised up the front a little bit and knocked the back down so that you have a lot more pin placements. Actually, it's better than it was. It's a lot more challenging than it was.
Good. Your signature hole. And most golf courses do have a signature hole, and it almost seems that it has water in front of it. But what is your signature hole?
Well, number 17 is our signature hole, I think. It's probably one of the toughest holes from the back tees. It plays about 190 yards over water, and it's just a nice view. You can see the whole. You can see the whole green. You can see everything from the tee, and it just makes a great hole out of it.
As I understand, Byron Nelson played an exhibition here, and I think he made a statement about the 17th. Do you can you tell? I'm sure you know it better than I do, and I understand you also have a plaque down there with this saying or close to it.
Well, Charlie, what he said is he didn't have a club for this hole, which I can understand. A lot of times when I get in that tee, it's kind of hard to pick a club because the wind kind of swirls around down there, and from that back tee, you know, it's a little hard to judge the distance, and probably that's what he meant. You know, I'm sure he had a club that he could get it on the green. I'm sure he did, but it's kind of, you know, takes a little bit of thinking to hit the right club there.
And of course, the water in front of it makes it even more more difficult.
That's right. Yeah.
You're probably thinking more about getting it over the water than actually getting it close to the pin.
Well, for the average player, that's his thought. But I think when Byron Nelson was there, I think he was thinking more of getting it near the hole than over the water.
Well, this is true. But he also said, and I understand that he did say that it was one of the toughest par 3 holes that he had played. So that's interesting.
So,
yeah.
I agree with him. It's 17 and 18 are two solid finishing holes. You got to play good golf on those 2 holes.
Allendale Country Club opened in 1953 under the name Dartmouth Country Club and is located on Allen Street. It was established by Dr. Bellenkoff and was originally a 9-hole golf course. The Dartmouth Country Club was purchased from Dr. Bellenkoff in 1956 by the members and was incorporated that year as Allendale Country Club. It was extended to the present 18-hole championship layout. It was designed by Jeffrey Cornish and was updated by him many times. It is owned and operated by the membership. Under the leadership of Matt Medeiros and his crew, it has developed into one of the finest golf courses in the area.
Morning, Charlie.
Can you give me some of your personal history in golf?
Well, I've been a PGA professional, Class A professional for 20 years. I got in the program back in 1980 as an apprentice. I worked at New Seabury Country Club before I got into the PGA in the late 70s, and then I was an assistant at Bronson Country Club in Huntington, Connecticut for 3 years. And then I got my first head professional position at Montauk Country Club in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And I've been here for 18 years. I got hired here in 1987, and I'm still here today.
How did you get into golf? I know it's a little unusual, so can you tell us about it?
Well, I got into golf. I injured myself in the playing baseball, quite badly with my knee, and so always being athletic, I decided to try playing golf. So I started when I was 18 years old, and I got the bug like most golfers have, and it was a pure passion for me, so I just kept with it, and now here I am today.
We do have a good course here at Allendale. Can you describe the course itself, maybe the layout, the par, and some of your favorite holes, like that?
Well, it's a great layout. It's a Jeffrey Cornish design layout, built in 1956. We now have established 4 sets of tees. We have a set of ladies tees, we have a set of senior tees, or ladies championship tees, we have white tees, and we have blue championship tees. Like I said, par 72, it can stretch out as much as 6,700 yards. A lot of nice looks with dog legs. We have 6 water holes. I would say our signature hole is the 12th hole. A nice par 3, which is about 162 yards from the white markers over water. Very pretty hole with stone walls in the back. We're also using the 4th hole as one of our signature holes on the scorecard. It's about a 390-yard par 4 severe dog leg, enlarged water pond for our irrigation system, so it's quite a tough hole. It's not one of the favorites, it's one of the toughest holes on the golf course, but that's also one of our signature holes.
Well, some of the work that you've done out in the back of the course there around the 4th and 8th and 7th and 6th, you've enlarged the water holes, which makes it a little bit more difficult to get over them, and makes a nice looking backdrop down there. Tell us about also about the membership, the structure of the membership.
Okay. Well, our total membership right now is 450. It's golfers. We've got a weekday membership, which allows an individual member to play 5 days a week during the weekdays. We have a restricted membership, which allows you to play 7 days a week, weekends after 12:30, and then we obviously have a single membership, which is unlimited for 7 days a week. We also offer junior golf memberships, which are very popular here. We have about 35 junior memberships right now, and they're allowed to play Pretty much any time, based on our schedule.
All right, and your facilities, and you have a swimming pool and such. Those facilities are available to all the members.
Yes, we've got an Olympic-sized swimming pool, beautiful swimming pool. We've got a driving range. We also have a short practice area with a bunker, green. It's about 100 yards long, so we have a full-service facility all the way around.
It wasn't always that way.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't always that way.
It wasn't always that way. You were a golfer, and that's exactly what you got.
That's right. You played golf, and that was it. So now we have a nice full country club facility. Yeah, we have 56 golf carts here, but we do not make carts mandatory. You know, golf is really a health issue also, and we love to see people out here walking. There are times where carts will be mandatory for certain tournaments, but 95% of the time we like to see our members out there walking and enjoying the beautiful countryside golf course that we have here. We've spent about $2 million in projects here over the last 5 or 6 years. We did a full irrigation system out here on the golf course, but first we did a drainage system. So we put a full drainage system in here, and now we have a full irrigation system on the golf course. Last year we completed a total bunker renovation, which has made this place beautiful and much more playable. And we've also added a new maintenance facility on the golf course. Our goals for this season is in the fall we're going to start a green drainage program. One last thing we need to do on the golf course, our greens don't drain real well. So we're going to do 2 greens. We're going to do hole number 1 and hole number 7. It's a procedure that gets done. That's a permanent solution to poorly drained greens, and it's brand new out in the business. So we're real excited about doing that. And from there we'll see how that works, and hopefully we'll be able to address some of our other greens that way too.
I know you have a good youth program that's run in the summer, and it's run mainly, and I say mainly, for members' children or grandchildren. Can you give us a little bit on that?
Yeah, well, I've run that here for the past 18 years. We run it on every Wednesday, and we do have it outside too, but it's generally for the members and their grandchildren. We average anywhere between 65 and 90 juniors. We go from age 10 to 16, from 8:30 to 9:30 every Wednesday, right when they're out of school. And the fun part is the 4 to 9-year-olds. We do them from 9:45 to 10:30. And Charlie's been very beneficial. He donates clubs, and we ask members to donate clubs. And I have the most fun at the end of the year. We have what's called the International Putting Championship of the World, and they all have this big championship, and they get T-shirts, and it's just a great thing to help promote golf, and hopefully they'll all be future golf members here.
One of your helpers there, Mike Morrow, is now the Dartmouth High School golf coach.
Yes, he is. Yeah, Mike's been helping me for the past 7 years with the clinic, because you need extra help, and Mike's very good with the golf swing. And last season he became the golf coach of Dartmouth High, and it's kind of a feeder program because the kids that have been with me, they've been with me for 10 or 15 years, and now you can see them trying out for the high school team, which is great, and boys and girls alike.
And I also understand that the golf course is the home course for the Dartmouth High School golf team.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I see the team practicing out here as I play.
They do, and actually now, which is great for us, they switch their schedule from the spring to the fall. So fall golf is much better around here. You know, we tend to have a wet spring, so they play in the fall, and it's worked out tremendously for them.
Course record. Could you give us who holds that record at this time?
Yeah, Greg Dennehy, the former pro here, and Greg's a legend around this area, good golf pro. I believe it's 65. We don't have anything published anywhere. And since I've been here, the low score has been 67, shot by some of the employees at Titleist. Yeah, the Ryder Cup's our most popular tournament here. I got it started about 6 years ago. We run it just like the Ryder Cup that the PGA does. We have a drawing. We set up captains. The men and women play. We usually average between 72 men and 32 women play every year, and it's the most popular tournament here. Everybody gets hats, different countries, and it's one everybody looks forward to all season long. Well, in our clubhouse, we've got a full-service function room upstairs, which we hold weddings. We used to have outside functions. Now we just have member functions. We have a lounge upstairs. We have a grill room downstairs, men's and ladies' locker room, and like I mentioned before, we got an Olympic-sized swimming pool outside of the clubhouse. We have a pro shop, full-service pro shop, where we offer bag storage, and our business office is over there also, and it's right by the 1st and 10th tee.
Got a practice tee.
We have a practice tee. Driving range, when we have a 100-yard short range, like we mentioned before, with a bunker and a green right there. We got a huge putting green. Well, thanks, Charlie.
Thanks,
Nice
Steve.
talking to you, too.
Hawthorne Country Club is located on Tucker Road, overlooking scenic Pascomanset Valley. It is owned and operated by William Schuler. It is a 9-hole par 70 championship golf course at 6,300 yards. Its golf pro is Gary Cardoza. It was established in 1962.
I actually started playing golf when I was about 5 years old. My grandfather, Walt Machowski, introduced me to the game, and I grew up playing golf at the Whale. From there, I came over here, probably when I was about 19 years old, became a member, and got into the golf business directly from here. This was actually my first assistant's job. We've got a par 70 here. It's a little on the short side, but it's a very challenging par 70 layout, 9 holes. We've got a great membership here. We're technically a private golf course, but we do set aside a limited amount of tee times available during our non-busy times for public play. We actually have a fleet of 24 carts, but believe it or not, most of our members here prefer to walk the golf course. It's a good golf course to walk on.
Well, it does have a very scenic view. It overlooks Pascomanset Valley. What are some of the improvements that have been made over the years?
So over the last 4 years, there have been a tremendous amount of improvements made to the golf course. Irrigation system, for one, was added about 4 years ago. Right now, we're working on our bunkers. We've probably got about half of them restored. Between the irrigation and the bunkers, this golf course has come a very long way in the last 4 years, condition-wise. Future plans, we'd like to finish up the bunker project. That's a short-term thing that we're looking at. Our superintendent, Kurt Liston, has been fantastic about that, and he's really looking forward to making more improvements out here. A little long-term, we'd like to do something with the third green. I know everybody that's played golf here has some fond things to say about our third green. It's a very challenging green, and potentially we'd be looking to do something there. So.
All right. How about your signature hole? Do you have a signature hole, and can you describe it?
We do. Definitely number 3. Number 3 is the number 1 stroke hole on the golf course. It's a great par 4. It's about 384 yards from the back, and it requires 2 very good shots to get to an elevated green. And then, of course, you have the third green, which is sloped. Requires pinpoint precision hitting a shot into that green to avoid having a nasty putt. It's just an all-around good hole. It's one of my favorites here.
Do you have a youth program?
Sure, we do. We're actually starting one up this year. I'm going into my 2nd season here now. We're going to try to get one going. We had one over April vacation week, and we're looking forward to starting a program in the summer. It's instructional for juniors ages 6 to 17. We break them up into groups based on age and ability, and just introduce them to the game of golf and get them out on the golf course toward the end of the program. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. From what I understand, the golf course record out here is a blistering 60, which is 10 under par, which was posted by Norman Seisha, who I'm told was one of the first golf pros in here. Probably for members, our best tournament here would be by far our Invitational 4-ball. The event last year in 2003 saw the biggest field that we've had here in probably a good 15 years. And it's just a great time. The members look forward to it. Their guests look forward to it. We've got a great facility here. Our club room overlooks, of course, most of the golf course. Sits right up on top overlooking the Pascomanset Valley. We've got a full-length driving range out there with a short game area. We also have a putting green up on top of the hill. We've got basically most of the amenities here that some of your larger golf courses have, and it's really nice. It's like I say, between the improvements that have gone on out here, it's really come a long way. Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Emerald Park Par 3 Golf Course was located on Tucker Road. It was established by Foster Herman Associates in 1960. It filled a great void left by the closing of the Pascomanset golf links. Opening as a 9-hole lighted par 3, it became popular to the catered night leagues. It was later extended to 18 holes. It was used by the young novice golfer who could stay all day playing to the senior golfer. It conducted youth programs and almost weekly tournaments, which were well received. Emerald Park closed to development in 1984.
I grew up with golf clubs pretty much within my reach in the household, and I also was fortunate enough to grow up across the street from the country club in New Bedford at a time during the 50s and 60s when you could actually get onto the golf course. They didn't have a barbed wire at the top of the fence, and you could crawl right under. We actually lived on the fourth hole, and interestingly enough, we had as many golfers come under the fence off of the fourth hole and into our yard to retrieve their golf balls as number of times we went under the fence to go over and look for golf balls and play on the course. So I started at an early age looking for golf balls, making a little income from that, and playing golf at the country club on the fourth hole. My closest friend growing up at the time was Peter Giusti. He lived in the adjoining home across the fence, and he and I started playing golf together at a very early age, probably about 7 or 8 years old. I decided somewhat from an early age that would be an area of interest for me. In 1963 and 64, I worked as an apprentice to Mike O'Grady, who to a lot of the old-timers in town is extremely well known. He practically built the country club in New Bedford from the time it was a 6-hole course to a 9-hole course to an 18-hole course. And he was a great help to me, as well as his sons, Bob and John. With my landscaping background, I started a landscape company, and I approached Foster Herman, who was the current owner of the Emerald Park Golf Course, and asked him if he would be interested in extending me a maintenance contract for the golf course. I had a crew at the time, and I was interested in just building my accounts. After much discussion, we decided it might be better for me to actually purchase the golf course outright, because I had a lot of plans to renovate the golf course. So in 1979, he and I entered into an agreement, and I actually became the owner of the golf course and began a number of those renovations at that time. I had an excellent membership. Many folks are aware of just how much work and effort you put into that golf course as well, long before I ever arrived on the scene. And you actually were very instrumental in implementing a junior golf program. And there were other individuals, prominent individuals that were in the town at the time who gave their time as well. Just to name a few, Andy Horvitz from Allendale was a young fella, exceptional golfer, and he was very pleasant, very accommodating, very helpful in extending his time. We had Dick Gottitzman was another fine golfer who extended his time and efforts for the junior golf program. Walt Deering, who a number of people in the town, golfers, know very well. He's been around for a very long time. He not only gave lessons, but he also brought golf clubs to the sessions so that the youth golfers would have clubs to play with. Tony Vieira was involved one year when he worked for me. My brother Earl worked for me for at least one season, and he was involved in the junior golf program. And I'm probably not mentioning everyone, but I would say probably out of the number of years that I was involved with Emerald Park, the greatest thing to come out of it would have been the knowledge on my part that there are a number of golfers out there today that may not have even started the game had they not been able to participate in the junior golf program and play golf at Emerald Park.
Pascomanset Golf Links was a 9-hole layout with few sand traps and natural obstacles. It was ideal for the beginning golfer or weekend wonders. Simeon Hawes, who owned and operated the course, lived in the 8-room double-deck colonial with its cow barn and attached carriage house, was from a long line of Hawes family who had lived where the Dartmouth Mall is now located. In its heyday, during the 30s and 40s, golfers arrived on the trolley car, carrying their golf bags with them. There were more bicycles outside the clubhouse than cars, because few people owned cars then. The clubhouse was about 20 by 20 feet, situated where the Sears Auto Store is now. It was a Spartan affair containing a single Coke machine, a counter to collect money, and sell golf balls. There were a few slots to leave your clubs, and in the back were showers and some rental lockers. There was a men's room, but nobody seemed to notice there was no ladies' room. The dues in 1942 were $25 a year, or 75 cents a weekday, and $1 on weekends and holidays. The course attracted some nationally known golfers. Francis Wilmette, the famous amateur, a frequent player, and even Ben Hogan sneaked in early morning to practice some approach shots. After World War II and the return of many young men, Paskey flourished and produced some well-known local standouts, such as Ralph Jenkins, Tom Hawes, Earl Chase, Kurt Chase, and Bernie Fodor, who all became club champions. In the early 60s, the land was sold to Doris Duke's group to build a mall. Ray Peck bought the clubhouse and transported it to Summit Grove, where it became his home. The fairways and greens can still be seen at various residences in the Dartmouth area. Pascomanset ended its long run in 1967 when it became the Dartmouth Mall.
I, of course, grew up in Carrollton Heights, adjacent to New Bedford Country Club. Everyone in the area around the country club, it seemed, became interested in golf. I caddied at the country club, as most of us did, and it was a natural thing when you caddied at the country club of New Bedford, if you got interested in golf, to move down the road to Pascomanset Links, which was waiting down there for us with open arms. Mr. Hawes, who ran the golf course, made it possible for all the youngsters to play golf if they wanted to for very reasonable rates, and it was a wonderful place for us. I went down just as many of the other boys did and got interested in golf really at the country club and followed it up at Pascomanset. I went on from playing golf at Pascomanset as a young boy to actually working there on the golf course. So I then moved from there at quite a young age, because this was during World War II, and it was difficult. Our pro, who was Howie Barrow, he had gone off to war, and there was a gentleman that was running the clubhouse was in his 70s, which today, now that I'm in my 70s, doesn't mean much, really. But at the time, Mr. Hawes felt that he needed a younger man in there, and he asked me if I'd like to be his assistant in the clubhouse. And so that's how I moved from working on the golf course to the clubhouse. One gorgeous morning, much similar to this one we're enjoying today, I had just opened the pro shop, and in walked my buddy, Bernie Fodor. Well, Bernie and I were great competitors on the golf course, but also great friends. I looked out the window, and the only car in the parking lot was my old '37 Chevy, and up alongside it pulled this gorgeous teal green Cadillac. Next thing, this lanky gentleman got out, and I almost fell over. It was Byron Nelson.
Well, that particular day, he was with another top pro of the time, Jug McSpadden, who was, they were traveling. He came walking into the clubhouse, and I told Bernie as I saw him walking to, my gosh, I said, Byron Nelson's coming in. I said, no kidding. So Byron Nelson walked through the door, and Bernie jumped up, and we shook his hand. He was on his way to the New Bedford Country Club for an exhibition match there, and he wanted to get directions from me as to how to get there. So that's why he pulled into Pascomanton. In those days, Route 6 was the main highway from, there was no 195 as we have it today out there. So we both got his autograph on a scorecard, and we shook his hand, and well, he said, I'm going to the country club for an exhibition. Yes, I said, I know that, and I'm going to be up there later on too. He said, I said, I'm getting off work at noon, so that was it, and off he went. I got off at noon, and I rushed up to the country club of New Bedford over here, and I couldn't wait to get to watch this guy play golf. I parked my car and ran up there, you know, and I said, well, let's see, I better go over the 9th fairway. So I ran over the 9th fairway, and I put myself right where I figured his drive would be. And he came strolling down, and lo and behold, he looked up and he said to me, hi, Earl. He remembered my name. And that was it. And one of the guys standing next to me said, you know him? I said, I just met him. So I just told him what happened. Ralph Jenkins was a captain. There was myself, and there was Morris Labonte. There was Spike Graham and Curtis Bates and Cliff Haskell and Dick Turner. Almost all of them were from Carrollton Heights, of course, but if they weren't from Carrollton Heights, they were from Slocum Road in that area, right around the country club in New Bedford. The New England Junior Championships were played in Newton at Albemarle Golf Club, and Pascomanton was a name that was well known in Boston at that country club, well known for years. They used to say up there, the sports writers in Boston, you would say, what is it with this Pascomanton? Something special down there going on, because we had so many young boys who did so well in that New England. Ralph Jenkins, of course, was an outstanding Dartmouth golfer and Dartmouth athlete, a superior, probably the best Dartmouth athlete that ever came out of the school here, and of course Spike Graham. They're both in the Dartmouth Hall of Fame. Ralph won the junior division up there. I won the senior division. Bernie Forteau won the senior division the year after I. And we had another Pascomanton golf who won the midget division, where there were 3 divisions, and the same year that I won the senior division. We had 2 of us from Pascomanton who won 2 of the 3 divisions. My pleasure.
No other school in Massachusetts can boast of the golf record of Dartmouth High School. Only Dartmouth has been 3 times champion of the state of Massachusetts. In tournament after tournament, they had defeated the largest and most powerful schools in the state. Since the revival of golf as a sport in 1946, after World War II, Dartmouth was state champion in 1946 and lost only 1 match in 1947, 1948, and 1949. No other activity has contributed so many professionals to its field. There are at least 15 men who played on Dartmouth High School teams engaged in golf professionally. 2 boys in the last few years have become state junior champions. They are Ralph Jenkins and Bernie Forteau. Dartmouth can well be proud of its record. The school and the town have obtained much favorable publicity because of it. More than winning, however, has been the benefits received by the players. They have a form of recreation which they can use for the rest of their lives. Nonquit Golf Links, the oldest golf course in Dartmouth, is nestled in the village of Nonquit, off of Buzzards Bay. It may date back to the 1890s, when it was a 6-hole layout. A new 9-hole course opened for limited play in the latter part of 1968. In the 1980s, the course was again lengthened and was designed by Jeffrey Cornish. Nonquit is a private course open to Nonquit residents only. It now plays to 5,326 yards of well-maintained fairways and greens by Don Horton and his crew, and it consists of approximately 43 acres. Round Hill Golf Course, located on the estate of Colonel Greens, is a 9-hole gem featuring the only par 3 island green in the world until 1999. This 190-yard par 3 hole is the signature hole. It is accessible only by a bridge. Built by Madeiras Construction in 1985, it was designed by the popular architect Mel Lucas of Dartmouth. The course on the banks of Buzzard Bay was developed by Robert Desmond. Round Hill, with its manicured greens and well-kept fairways, is open to residents and their guests only. It consists of approximately 35 acres.
The beginning of golf, which was noted as 1457, we know that golf had been played well before that date, but the rules of Parliament had indicated that golf would be banned because it was interfering with archery and the weaponry used for the people to defend their country. So that dated the game of golf. Now, at that time, we can only imagine that the shepherds and people were playing with a round stone or a round wooden ball that they made. But as we start going further, we found that they started using feathers compressed into a small leather pouch that would be handmade. And around 1847, along came something called the gutta percha. And it was a packing material that came out of the East India trade. And they found that it had enough resiliency and it could be made into a very good fashioned ball for playing the game of golf. So this was known basically as kind of like a stone ball, because when you would hit it, it would resound on the club face and make a clicking noise. It didn't go very far and it was very difficult to hit, but it was resilient. It didn't cut or burst apart like the old feathery balls, and therefore it lasted for quite some time, up until 1898, when Coburn Haskell was working at a rubber industry in Akron, Ohio, and saw a lot of twine of rubber, and he started to determine the fact that maybe with the compressed rubber he could make a golf ball that would go further, and therefore came the Haskell ball, which I have right here, which was approved and patented in 1899. Now this, when you bounce this on wood against this one right here, the difference is that it bounces several times and it bounces higher than what this one does. So all of a sudden the golf industry boomed and golf balls were being mass-produced in America, and much to the concern of the British golfers and the St. Andrews Royal and Ancient, who were the determining people of the rules of golf. It didn't last long. Actually, we can call this the Bouncing Billy, as the British referred to it. Bouncing Billy was the fact that you really had trouble controlling this when you hit it, because it would tend to start moving in different directions throughout the air, and it would go further, so it was tending to go places that people had never intended when they were using the old gutty. Later on, they found that golf balls could be produced with a center that was poured, and they had all kinds of liquids that they were playing with. That was in 1907. So from the Haskell, just a few years later, came the center core, which lasted well into the 60s. And then, of course, we have the golf ball of today, which has all the resiliency, aerodynamics. Everything is so well made on these golf balls that it certainly has come a long way from what was used. Now, if you can see that the two balls are not equal in size, and not until the 50s did golf balls become standardized. And the standard size is 1.68. And this is standard size, but at that time, they were also making a 1.74 as well as a 1.80. So the standard size that we have today is 1.68. The beginning of golf, they were using crude implements, shepherd's crooks and what have you. As the Iron Age happened, they were able to start making iron-faced clubs, and what they started out with was a smooth face. They didn't know much about aerodynamics in those days at all, and therefore it was just a stick and ball game. They would hit the ball, and at first with the gutta percha balls, where they had very little distance and what have you, it wasn't so bad. But then when the Haskell ball came in, it was more evident that what was needed was a dimple or some type of cut, even, as they would cut into balls to make them more aerodynamically sound. And when they'd come off the face of the club, these smooth-faced clubs, with the cuts and nicks and whatever, they would actually straighten themselves out in flight. So they went into the cutting of golf balls as they would be made, the latter part of the century, where gutta was still being used. And then as the Haskell came out, it became what was known as a bramble, and aerodynamics started to play a part in the game of golf. They also found that with these clubs, if you can see on the back, they made this club where it has a bit of a muscle in it, as they called it, and it was a muscle-backed club. As years went by, they also found, this is just another view of another smooth-faced club, but then they started to find that by not only marking the golf ball with dimples and cuts in them, they found that by putting grooves and marks and dents into the face of the club, it also would help in the aerodynamics. And this club right here, not only is it with some grooves, but if it's noticed, it's got a concave to it, in another addition to trying to move the ball on a further and more direct direction when playing. Another type of club that was used with more of a scoring, and this is known as a waterfall club, and this would definitely get into the ball, and you could direct the ball much straighter when you would hit the shot. And then just another one, they were in all types of engineering to see how far they could move the ball and how straight they could make it. And just another example, this is known as a brick face club. And then, of course, as we moved into the modern era, the vanity of the golfer still liked the hickory shaft, by the way. And when we moved into tubular steel, they would wrap the tubular steel with something that looked like the grain of wood. And that was more of a vanity, because a lot of people did not want to go into a metal shaft, so they had these things with a veneer over the metal. As the tubular steels were developed, they became so good that everybody just left the hickory shafted era and realized that tubular steel, the dynamics of it, and the weights that we're being able to accomplish were just so great and advanced that hickory shaft was passé. And now, as we go into our newer clubs with the graphite shaft, grips made of rubber and other types of materials, the options that the golfer has is incredible. The way that these clubs are balanced, the precision that they're made in, the grooves are still there. The ball of today with the club of today is just immensely different from the game that was played with our forefathers. So I think that all companies are to be congratulated on the work that they've done to make a game more pleasurable for the average golfer.
A turn-of-the-century golf links, Salters Point Golf Links, was routed in 1900 as a 9-hole layout, but only 6 holes were able to be completed. It lost a par 3 hole along the shore in the 1938 hurricane. In later years, the last 3 remaining holes were attempted for completion, but permits were denied by the town because those holes were involved with wetlands. The existing 6 holes are well enjoyed by the residents of Salters Point. It is under the watchful eye of Mel Lucas, who helps to maintain its many improvements. City View Golf Land, owned and operated by Walter Tomkowitz, is located on Fonts Corner Road, north of Route 195. He also built and maintains it. It is well lighted and was expanded from 9 holes to the present 18 holes in 1972. It is used by the novice golfer to sharpen their short game. It consists of approximately 55 acres of open space. The Dartmouth Golf Driving Range, located on Slocum and State Road on the site of Bishop Stang High School, was owned and operated by Sam Gottesman and Gordon Handler. It was built in 1947. It was a popular night spot for golfers and novices alike to hone their driving skills. It was well lighted so you could practice well into the night. It was purchased by Ray Peck, a local golfer and Dartmouth native. It remained at this site until the building of Bishop Stang in 1959. Ray Peck was offered the site across the Lincoln Park Ballroom, where he moved and operated it until 1976. After being closed for many years, it was reopened as the Caddy Shack under the ownership of Carol and Richard Medeiros. Added to it was a 2-tiered hitting tees and a practice area for practicing iron shots. It is well lighted and uses the most modern balls and clubs. Golf lessons are offered by certified teaching pros. I hope you enjoyed the walk down memory lane. From the first swing of learning to the standing in the winner's circle after winning a club championship, to the joy of scoring a hole-in-one, to the frustration of making a double bogey, to the walk with your partner down the plush green fairways, to the sinking of a crucial putt to win a golf match, to the kid with sneakers carrying a canvas bag with wooden shafted clubs, to the golfer with FootJoys and graphite shafted clubs riding an electric golf cart, to enjoy the quiet serenity of golf itself. We as golfers enjoy those treasured moments. But I guess you don't have to be a golfer to enjoy life. But it sure helps. I'm Charlie Ditata from the Dartmouth Wanderers. Thank you.